You've been doing some interesting pieces lately, but one that particularly caught my eye is on Joe Biden, his administration, and how they are defending Betsy Devos. And I feel like we have to have a little bit of a conversation about the background here, as Joe Biden is one of the main reasons why student debt is attached to students even now after if they file bankruptcy, it remains. They can't get rid of it. So we're looking at a situation where it's expanding. A lot of the Sallie Mae lenders pretty much have gotten away with murder. We even have folks on Social Security that are having their checks garnished by the government to pay back student loan debt. So in your investigation, you basically found out that there is an ex-Trump DOJ official, Department of Justice official, who is helping to defend Betsy Devos in her litigation against students that were ripped off by her. So give us a little bit about on the background here and explain for the audience that it's not a requirement of them, meaning the Department of Justice, to defend Betsy.
Yeah, so I guess the major issue and what kind of made this newsworthy in the first place is that you have a few attorneys with the Department of Justice, these DOJ, basically career officials, most of them, but one of them was specifically hired by the Biden administration. That's Acting Assistant Attorney General Brian Boynton.
Right.
And they put their names on this document that says the U.S. Department of Justice is representing Betsy DeVos in her personal capacity and as part of a kind of effort to shield cabinet level officials from this kind of scrutiny. The issue here is that these former students who were ripped off by their for-profit colleges, they were scammed. No one disputes the fact that they were scammed. DeVos herself has in the past said in court documents and press releases that this was a bad thing that happened. Though as the leader of the Department of Education, she kind of fought against their interests. There was some administrative foot dragging,
Right.
But overall, everybody agrees that these students are more or less in the right. So what the students want is to perform some depositions and to see kind of what led to the decisions at the Department of Education and find out why it was taking them so long to process these claims, to get them their money back, and so on and so forth. And the Biden DOJ has kind of stepped in and said, no, you know what? You cannot talk to Betsy DeVos about this. We're not going to let you do that. I think they are concerned about setting a precedent of having cabinet level officials having to go on the record and explain their actions in front of well, it wouldn't necessarily be in front of a court, but under oath. And that's essentially what kind of shocked and surprised a lot of folks here. And that's why we did the story.
So they want to protect their current cabinet from possibly being scrutinized in the same way, but that just seems ridiculous to me. Transparency in government, I think, is key. And the Democratic Party itself always seems to be pro-transparency and anti-corruption, yet they do things like this that are just, the optics are absolutely terrible, as far as I'm concerned. Do you think that that's a problem in general for the Democrats?
Well, I mean, the issue is they always run on transparency, right? And they always are keen to point out, and they are correct to point out, that the Republicans are atrocious and horrific when it comes to transparency overall. The Trump administration was very much like its GOP predecessors in that regard. They were very bad with transparency, and the Biden campaign promised that there would be a changing of the guard, that it would be different. They did some iteration of a promise akin to will be the most transparent administration of all time. Obama did the same thing.
Right.
And, they make these pains to transparency, but when the rubber meets the road, they have court filings where they're protecting one of the most hated and vilified members of the former administration. And they don't have to act as her personal attorney, but that's what the DOJ has chosen to do. It is a choice. They are not bound by law. They are not even necessarily bound by precedent. These sorts of depositions have happened in the past. It's not, I wouldn't say it's common, uncommon, or rare. I would say it's highly fact intensive. That's my attorney brain speaking for a second. I don't want to categorize them as being something that like, oh yeah, this happens all the time or this doesn't happen all the time. I think it highly depends on the facts. And here there's just, as far as I can see, no reason whatsoever for them to step in. It's like, again, generally undisputed that these students were scammed, that they have valid factual claims, and it is also more or less undisputed that the Department of Education did something wrong here.
Yeah.
In fact, several federal courts have sanctioned the Department of Education under Betsy Devos for doing something wrong here. So under this specific fact pattern, it just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever for the Biden administration, for the Department of Justice to say, we're her personal attorney. No, you can't put her under oath and ask her about her job. It really boggles the mind. It's the opposite of transparency.
And Betsy DeVos runs for-profit universities. That's what she was doing prior to taking this job in the Trump administration. And the Democratic Party also has been keen in some areas with privatization, including schools that are supported for charter schools would be one example. Do you think that there's a relationship here, or is it simply the concern that they don't want to set a precedence as far as being able to put their cabinet members under oath?
We didn't really touch upon that in any of our reporting. I think if you want to see some more information about that, I would look to the Republic report. David Halperin is a journalist who is doing a lot more on those specific angles.
Okay.
But my general answer to that question is that the money is always important. I don't think it should go undiscussed or unreported. In this specific instance, I can't say, but I do remember that the Obama administration was very keen on charter schools, very big on privatization. A lot of their high-level appointees, including essentially Obama's handpicked senator for Colorado, Michael Bennet, he comes from that background.
Right.
So it's no surprise to me that the phrase "strange bedfellows." There's nothing strange about it. These people are all kind of cut from the same cloth, but we didn't necessarily touch upon any of that in our reporting. So I should probably defer to David Halperin's work again in the Republic report. He did the first story on this that kind of put us on the trail. We picked up a whole bunch of the extra court documents after that. He does good stuff, and I would check him out for sure.
Okay, excellent. Good recommendation.